Hey, this video is going to show you how to search for journals in the Nelson Memorial Library. Now, we have just changed our name to Nelson University, and our website is switching things over. So currently, this is how things look. If it changes in the future, I'll record a new video. Let me know if this video is outdated already. But currently, this is how you look for journal articles in the Nelson Memorial Library. You put there, but nelson.libguides.com will get you to the library. It should look something like this. If it doesn't, you can type in NML at the end of .com. And so we're looking for journal articles today. And there are a couple ways to do it. You can use this little article tab and just start keyword searching like you would on Google or any other search function. That's one way. For biblical and theological studies, we have a very specific indexing company. It's called the American Theological Library Association. And you can find that by going to our database A through Z list. And from there, you can see either in the feature database here, or you can scroll down. Let me make this bigger for you. You can scroll down and find Atla. Either way, it's fine. Same database. Now, you click on it. If you're not on campus, you have to enter your name, your regular school login to get there. So there is a pass-through you type into. But if you're a current student, you're fine, and it'll get you to this page here, which is pretty bare bones. But that's okay. And now in this search bar, you can type in. Let's say we're looking for paper on Philippians 2:5 through 11, the Christ poem or kenosis hymn. So if you want to do research on that particular passage of scripture, you can type in a passage of scripture here. You can also come back and type in keywords. And in research, you want to be thorough. There are different levels for undergrad, master's, and doctoral work, but you want to do more than one keyword search. So start by typing in a relevant biblical passage. In this case, we're talking about Philippians 2:5 through 11. And right away, you get 46 articles. Now, the Atlas data, you can start scrolling through articles and things that look interesting. You can click this little icon here, a little like bookmark icon, and then and that's one quick way is you can scroll down, keep going, and as things look interesting to you, start clicking. And then once you've gone through not just 10, but maybe let's say 50 resources, at least that if we're going to be college level research, maybe 100 resources. So you scroll through, let's say you scroll through, you've looked at each title, maybe pay attention to the author, where it's published, whenever, like, so here this is Gordon Fee, pretty well-known scholar. He's passed away a while ago, but outstanding scholar. It's in the Bulletin of Biblical Research, 1992. So a little dated, but still worth looking into. So you can scroll through, and once you flag all the articles that you think are interesting, you should be able to go over here to the left side of your screen. At least on my computer, it looks this way. Click on the saved files, and it'll show you all the saved journal articles. So I just quickly gathered 5 articles here. So that's one quick way to quickly scroll through a list and just hit this little icon to save the things that look like they might be interesting. So you may find you pick 20 or 30 articles. Like in your immediate pass through, you may have done that, and that's fine. And then you get to this list, and you can click or unclick to narrow your journals down to a more manageable number. But I always think of fishing, where you maybe cast a broad net, and then as you pull in all the fish, or in this case, all of the resources, then you start sifting through between things that seem like they might be maybe top tier interesting for your research. Others you can just put aside for now. And then as you research and read and write, you can come back to and then do this again and again and again. But for your very first pass through research, if you're looking for journal articles, you can just keyword search for a relevant biblical passage. And in the ATLA database, it looks like this currently. You scroll through and find articles that are interesting. Now, I will clarify a little more here. Um, on the screen, let's enlarge this. On every article, you can see whether you can access it right now, for example, and you can just read the scanned PDF and you can download it if you want to and just kind of go through it. So that's one thing to know. Another thing to know is if the article isn't available to be read right now, you can't access it right away. Our library can borrow it for you, and they're pretty quick. It's called interlibrary loan. So on the second one, it looks like we can't find it. You can look for open access, and that's fair. I usually go right to interlibrary loan. So if you can't read it right away, you can request the interlibrary loan. So this page will pop up. You type in your first name, last name, your email address, your phone number if you want to, and any comments if you want to. You don't have to though, because all of the rest is filled out automatically for you. Here, that's better. So you type in your information here. The information for the article you're requesting is already filled out for you, and then you hit submit. The library will get an email from this program that says, hey, please borrow this article or this book or whatever you're looking for on behalf of the person whose information is filled out right here. So, and articles are usually faster scans from other libraries, and they'll email it to you or let you know right away. So, if don't despair and don't wait till last minute to research, you have that option for you as well for interlibrary loans. Okay, so let me scroll in. So that's one thing to know. Another thing to know is you can pay attention to the author, and as you do more research, you become more conversant in authors who are have bigger reputations than others. It's not determinative of whether you read the article because the article stands on its own, but it is something to pay attention to if you're trying to become expert in a certain area of research. In is the name of the journal itself. This is Review and Expositor. It was published in 2021, and so you can tell right away kind of some information about resources you're looking into. And then let's click on an article and let me show you another thing. In Atla, when you click on an article, here's if you want to download it or access it, you click these buttons here. But you can scroll down through the resource. Here's the page numbers. This will tell you how long the article is, and that's useful as you assess how which articles you want to read. The DOI is right here. That's great information for citation. But what I want to get to is the subjects. This subject guide is useful. So in research, you don't always know the keywords that you need to use. And the keywords, if they are for the title or maybe in the description, you may not know all the technical words that are being used. So once you find an article that looks relevant, find the subjects guide or the subjects link, and you'll find a bunch of essentially hashtags that have been associated with that article. And so if we're studying Philippians 2, 5 through 11, is Christology. So if you want to find theological articles about Christology, which is related to the field of this particular passage, you can click on the subject guide and it finds more articles for you. Crucifixion is there, atonement is there, social status, solidarity, all those are there. So any of these subject guides is one way to help you find other articles that are relevant to the article that you have found. So sometimes you do a keyword search or you type in a scripture reference and you get like one or two articles, or not very many. And you think, well, is that it? Am I done for? You're not done for. Just find one article that looks like it's relevant and then use this function to find, look, nearly 4,000 more articles on crucifixion. So that's one thing to note. And sometimes these are more useful than other times, but always look at the subject guide to see how the Atla database organizes the articles. Another thing that's helpful is the scripture citation. Now, I think we started by citing this verse, but it's entered in the way Atla thinks about it. So uh, let's see how many results we have here from Philippians 2, 5 through 11. Now, we started by typing it in the way I would do it, 2, 5/11. But now we have this more official Atla style of referring to the reference itself. And now it's 117 results. So again, if you do a search and there's not a lot showing up, fear not. Find this resource and you can find more articles. Okay, so there's that. Your subject, and sometimes subject guides are listed right here for you rather than having to click on the actual article. So that's useful. Showing you how to, let's see if I have saved articles, how to find articles, how to sift through them, how to look for the subject guide. Now, another thing you can do, let's say you have the articles you actually want to read. So you have them all listed here. They're all saved. You should be able to email them to yourself. Oh, I need to sign in, I think. There has been a way. Oh, export. There we are. Oh, you can download them right away if they're downloadable. Or you can export them. Fantastic. This is all fairly new. Here, because this is recently changed. Okay. Let's click download. Okay, look at that. So if the article is already available to be read now, you can download them as any sort of document you want: PDF, Word, CSV, and so forth. So it's worth looking into features like this. Again, this has recently, the interface has recently changed, in part because our website name has recently changed. So as of the moment, these are things you can do for journal searches. And then once you've exhausted that, you can always type in a new, let's say, kenosis poem. You can just do new keyword searches. You can look for specific authors. You can look for other. Oh, look at that! Nothing there. Huh. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about, where you may not have the results you want right away. Be tenacious. Be creative. Um, okay, for Christ poems, interesting. Christ poem, Pancreas word. So far nothing here. How to play Roma. Interesting. Christ poems. This happens. So the reason I'm doing this kind of live and I haven't edited it really or done this before, and now I'm doing it again for you. So I want you to see what real research looks like. And if I'm doing we're doing research for a paper on Philippians, I don't think any of these are really relevant. So just scrolling through to try and be thorough. All right. Well, then let's go back to Christ Philippians. Now, there are other words. If you were working on, say, Matthew's Sermon on the Mount, you can also type in the Matthean passage. You can do another search from the Sermon on the Mount. You can talk about, you can, there are so different purposes will have a wider range sometimes of keyword searches, but just keep at it. Keep at it. And again, if you, once you find, oh, look at that, one good article, you can usually use the subject guide down here to help you find other keywords to look for. Okay, so this is an article on singing to Lord prose, hymn, as Philippian recipients. I'm assuming it's our passage in Philippians. Philippians 2, 5 through 11 is a pretty famous Christ hymn or poem or something like that. William Shiel. Oh, wow. So William Shiel, I know, is an outstanding scholar. I used this person's book for a dissertation about the performance of the book of Acts. So now he's doing more performance critical studies on maybe how we can sing this Christ poem in its original context and how that might look for us today. That's really interesting. So if you happen to know an author and his or her expertise, that helps you sometimes. This was written in the Religions Journal in 2023, so that's not too long ago, a few years ago. Volume 14, issue number 10. Wow, that's a 15-page article. So I know that about this. The Doi is right here. And then, yeah, Philippians, Bible. So that's a fine keyword. Hymns in the Bible. That's okay. That's a good one. Hymns, Greek, rhetoric, worship. So all these subjects are related to this Christ hymn in Philippians 2. And you can view it online. Outstanding. So let's do this. Let's see what happens when you click one of these keywords. Let's go hymns in the Bible. Because even though my theoretical paper is on the hymn or poem in Philippians 2, it is useful to put that in context of other hymns or other literature of that type that we find in scripture. So how many, what are we looking at here? 361. So maybe I don't want to scroll through all 361, but look at the counter-Roman rhetoric in Philippians is heard by the marginalized. Wow. So none of this has the phrase Philippians 2, 5 through 11 here. So I don't think this is one of the articles we found in our very first search, but by going on this journey, we found other articles that are possibly relevant. So I would flag it, and maybe it's not important for whatever I want to write about, but at this stage we're just casting a broad net, seeing what resonates. And you can always go through it again and again. Click on this, find the keywords, do some more searching. That's useful. I'm gonna scroll down just for the next few, just to see what's here and to show you what's currently listed this way. Oh, nativity songs. I heard. Okay, so it's Luke, not Philippians. Ooh, if you spoke German, that maybe is useful. Klang and Kaufman. Okay, all that in versions of Daniel. Maybe there's hymns there that you want to look at. Ooh, Schleiermacher, Ausschliftung, Vorlage. Okay, again, if you don't know German, it's not gonna help you at all. Um, Psalm 46 and okay. So the first one is great in Philippians. The rest aren't. Oh, look at that imprecatory psalms. That's just a perennial. Mm, Good. So this is what research is too. Research is having a target, finding articles on the thing you want to write about, but you always, to a degree, have to let your research guide you. And just if you are doing a paper on Philippians on the poem there, maybe you're doing a broader study that's interested in worship or hymnody, or in this case, imprecatory psalms, um, or whatever. You can just, it's okay to take little rabbit trails. Just always come back to your focused research. But you're reading not just for specific information, you're reading to become more well educated. And just seeing these titles and thinking through what these mean, even though you may not have an immediate takeaway, that is building, stretching your brain and experience so that you can become a more well rounded scholar. So when you do this kind of research, I would set some time aside, find a quiet space, whatever works for you, and just read titles, see what happens here. Old Testament is okay, inspired by the Spirit. Interesting. Okay, this is the one we found earlier. Um, Parchment fragments in the Philippian and Corinthian assembly. So interesting. What is this? Curious about this. So, was there any kind of bio? So, just from the subjects is on Paul, psychology, grief, trauma, hymns in the Bible. So, it looks like, and I'm just guessing now, this is an article in this Biblical Interpretation Journal about how hymns can connect with these maybe melancholy feelings, these sad feelings, and maybe being a migrant is part of it. I mean, this I'm just saying what the title says, but take a moment and try and guess what this is. We'll look at it together. Let's just see. Oh, maybe subscriber access is required. We'll find out. Oh, Brill, yeah. But even if we can't read it right now, we could. Oh, okay, we could ask for it from the library and read it ourselves. So this is 30 from 2022, number 5. So we want 30, 30. Okay. So I just looked back here to see the source. This is the article, volume 30, written in 2022, and it's issue number 2. So I did volume 30, I forgot, issue number 5, issue 5. And this is a special issue. Okay. Epistolary affects. Okay. Interesting. So this is another thing that happens in journal searching. You might be looking for one topic, but maybe and this is more than just than this article, but or than this journal. Journals will regularly have a special issue where they have a whole series of articles on a theme that you may not have thought of, but now it's going to be valuable to at least read through all the titles of this one issue to see if there's anything here that could be helpful for reading Philippians or Philippians hymn. And so this is what research is. Research is just going to a forest, not knowing where you're going, having a general sense of your target. But you have to be open to let the research take you in different directions, so you can be a broadly knowledgeable person. That's all part of how we read, how we do research. So if you're still watching, let me just kind of quickly read this titles together. So an introduction to this journal, Pauline epistles, oh, okay. Philemon, okay. I'm Michael Dinkler. Super foul. Stinky. Second Corinthians. Okay, maybe. This is the article here that led us to this direction. So definitely because of Philippian and Corinthian assemblies, this would be worth reading for research on Philippians 2. It may not end up ultimately being something you include in your research, but it's worth looking into. Corinthian ignorance, anxious affects in First Corinthians, blur of letters. Okay, so if I were doing this paper on Philippians 2 myself, I would definitely read the introduction to this whole issue just to see how this take on scripture, how do they frame what they're doing here? What's this affective reading of scripture? And so this was it ooh, it's a 16 page article is a good intro to get you grounded in the larger methodology. And you don't know, you may really like it and you may go a direction you never thought of because you now have been introduced to this other way of paying attention to things in scripture. So definitely read the intro to a journal like this. I'd read the outro as well. Responses usually is comprehensive, and so that looks like the response is 8 pages or so, if I'm doing the math correctly. Um, And I would look to certainly our Philippian article here. This one on Corinthian ignorance may not be relevant to an article in Philippians, but the idea of anxious affects or anxiety in general, that could be interesting. Because in Philippians 2, me having read it and knowing that scripture, um, he's talking to Philippians, telling them to put on the mind of Christ and maybe debase yourself, or at least not hold status in high value, and do things humbly like Christ did to benefit other people. And so that, I mean, I think of that in terms of popping egos and honor and shame and maybe pride psychologically. And so those are topics that are involved in reading Philippians 2. Anxiety may or may not be there. That's interesting. Maybe anxiety is the cause. Like, so maybe if you're first century Philippian, you are so anxious about your social status because everyone is, that is the cause for holding on to saving face and maintaining the status. There are things that are beneath you, things you shouldn't do. And Paul here is saying, no, no, no. If Christ, who is God, became humble as a human and died the most humiliating death, then we should not hold status as something that's important to us. We should live the way Christ lived. So that addresses that aspect, but maybe there is some anxiety involved in that discussion. So maybe this article on the Corinthian anxious affect from this letter might have some crossover with the study of Philippians. So I haven't read the article, I don't know, but just thinking out loud, this type of research can help, because now we found the gold here. We found a whole journal devoted to this topic that also intersects with Philippians. And as you read through the titles, you may think about other potentially relevant articles, and you can find them, read them, and then do this kind of recursive research where you come back and look for more titles, more research to find more takes on whatever you're studying. So I think that's probably good for us. Let me show you one. I should have opened this. One more thing. If you go to, so BibTheo is my website. It's short for Bible and Theology, but bibtheo.com/Nelson, Nelson. That is a shortcut link to pages at Nelson University. And so I have a style guide here. We have book introductions, commentaries, dictionaries, encyclopedias. And then here, there's a quick link to the Atla database. So you could find the homepage to the Nelson Library. You could find the Atla database and get here. For me, just because I don't always remember how the website works, or it changes, or I just want a quick link, the quick link is here at bibtheo.com/Nelson under the journal database section. So there you are. That is one way to do journal research for biblical and theological studies. If you have any questions, email me and I'll get back to you. God bless you.